Okay, I had a request sent to me, and if I could review a case and give my opinion on it and talk about how you could avoid this situation. Uh, Sorry about the light in here; it just went out on me. But this is a 2014 case. It happened in Tampa, Florida, January of 2014. In fact, it's January 13th. If you want to look this case up, it was a retired police officer who shot an individual in a movie theater over a text message. I'm not going to mention the suspect's name, even though he was acquitted in 2022. The reason it took 8 years was because of changes in laws and because of defense attorney theatrics and the pandemic. And he was just acquitted last February of second-degree homicide. He tried to use stand your ground laws in Florida, and a judge threw that out. So the case was a 43-year-old Chad Olson was sitting in a seat in front of the suspect. He was text messaging his babysitter because his daughter was with the babysitter, and he was just getting information. And it was the previews of the movie. The movie playing was Lone Survivor, and so it's just the previews. The suspect got angry. He was sitting behind him. He got angry, told him to turn his phone off. Mr. Olson didn't, and they got into a bit of an argument, and so the suspect stood up. According to witnesses, stated he kicked the back of the seats as he was walking by grumbling. He left the theater and later returned. What we'd found out was he went to talk to a manager or a supervisor, and there was none available at the time. So he returned back to the theater, and the argument ensued from there, and they continued to argue about the phone. Mr. Olson stood up, was facing him, but one row down with seats between them. The suspect had a bag of popcorn in his hand. Mr. Olson grabbed the popcorn during this argument, grabbed the popcorn and threw it in his face. And at that point, the 71-year-old suspect pulled the firearm out of a .380 out of his pocket and fired right into his chest, hitting Mr. Olson and Mr. Olson's wife. He hit her in the hand because her hand was on her husband's chest, kind of holding him back during the argument. This suspect is a retired police captain from Tampa Bay. He was a SWAT team leader. He was homicide investigator, everything else. Well, they used that in part of the court, and I have an argument about that when they used it saying, well, he knew when he could and couldn't use deadly force, and if he felt the need to use deadly force at that moment, then there's nobody else out there that would know more than him at that time. And I'm like, okay, well, if we're going to use that as an argument, then we'd also use the argument that he was a police officer for so many years. He should have known to keep his mouth shut. He should have known not to get in an argument with somebody in a theater over a text message. And there's another off-duty police officer that was in the theater at the time. He's the one who came over and secured the weapon and secured both the suspect and his wife to ensure that they kept their mouths shut and didn't say anything. So my opinion on this was, as you can pretty much lean towards and tell, that no, I believe that he should not have been acquitted. He knew better than what he was doing. If his mental capacity or his physical health wasn't enough that he could either protect himself from being attacked by a bag of popcorn, he shouldn't have been carrying a firearm. That's just my opinion on that. He was acquitted. I don't agree with it, and that's my opinion. It kind of goes on the same line as if somebody walks up to you and shoves you and then just stands there, you shove him back. Is that self-defense or is that vengeance? The person shoved you but has done nothing else beyond that, and you shove them back. Would that be considered self-defense? These two argued. He threw a bag of popcorn. That was wrong. He took the popcorn out of the suspect's hand. That was wrong. But was it deadly force? I don't believe so, and I would never teach that in that situation. So they asked me what we do to avoid something like this. Well, the best thing you can do to avoid this is by keeping your mouth shut, not letting your pride get involved. If you're upset with somebody, walk away. Leave the situation altogether. I'm not sure if they wanted me to refer to the suspect or the victim. The victim, he also should have known to keep his mouth shut. He should have realized at this point, look, it's not worth the fight. It's not worth arguing with an old guy over a text message. You're not going to text anymore during the movie anyway, so why let it bother you? Just turn around, sit down, and just ignore it. But the argument continued. The best way to avoid this altogether is just ignore it. Don't get so upset. If the individual had to lean forward and said, hey, stop texting, it's bothering me. Say, yeah, I'm only texting because my daughter, I'll be off in just 1 second. If he continues to get mad at you, finish your text and shut it down and do what you need to do, or move if you can. When you're in that confrontation type situation, you just got to avoid and walk away. You've got to learn to just close your mouth. Just don't let the pride step in. Close your mouth and walk away. That's the only defense I can think of in this situation. Once the individual pulled the firearm, if you're quick enough, you can actually try to control the firearm. You can't draw on a drawn gun. You're going to lose. And the thing is he didn't have a firearm. Mr. Olson didn't have a firearm on him. So what we learned from this case, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to look at this and wonder why we're talking about it. Well, it was requested by a subscriber, and I thought I would touch up on it. And that's my opinion. The jury at that court had a different opinion than I did, and that's fine. But yeah, he shouldn't have been acquitted. And the best way to avoid this whole thing is by just don't feed into it. Don't argue. Don't keep the argument going. Don't let your pride step in. Just walk away. So if anybody out there likes the content of this channel, just hit like and subscribe. Share this. Let's get some more things out there. If you have any more cases you want me to review or give my opinion on and talk about for a second, we can. And a lot of this is for self-defense. I love the self-defense stuff people talk about. I love sharing those things and anything we can do to help each other out to make sure we're all safe out there. So let's just keep those coming, and I really appreciate those who subscribe and those who view, and be safe and have a great night.